was supposed to be a celebratory Patriots Day in Boston for runners and spectators of the Boston Marathon, but it quickly took a turn for the worse. This afternoon, 2 explosions went off at the finish line of the famed Boston Marathon, and tonight we continue to uncover and understand what, how, and why this happened.
Good evening and welcome to CitrusTV News. I'm Brian Chung.
And I'm Hannah McDonald. Tonight we will bring you why and how this explosion happened.
2 back-to-back explosions at the finish line of the Boston Marathon leave at least 2 dead and many others injured this evening. At 2:50 p.m. in Boston's Copley Square this afternoon, 1 explosion occurred in front of the photo bridge at the finish. A second explosion occurred 15 to 20 seconds later, a block away along the marathon course. A third explosion at JFK Library occurred this afternoon. In a press conference, Boston PD Commissioner Ed Davis says they are unsure if the incidents are related, but are treating them as if they are. New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. have heightened security per protocol in times of emergency. We now have Citrus TV's Chris Luther here to explain more details on the Boston Marathon explosions.
Brian, as you said, 3 explosions were witnessed earlier today in Boston in accordance with the marathon, but these are not the 3 explosions that we initially thought. Now, this marathon started at around 9 a.m. this morning with about 26,839 runners in total. About 2:45 p.m. was the first witness explosion. That was right at the finish line of the marathon, right in the corner of the Boston Public Library by Bolson and Dartmouth Street. Now, these 2 explosions were initially reported right at 2:45 p.m. and it was reported, as you said, at JFK Library. The 3rd explosion was reported, but that has now been unfounded. The report is now saying that that is a fire-related explosion, or excuse me, not even an explosion whatsoever. That is not related to the attacks that have occurred. Now, a 3rd explosion was witnessed, but this was a planned explosion of a bomb that investigators uncovered. So again, the earlier reports of explosion at JFK Library are unfounded in the JFK Library about 5 miles away from the initial bomb site at Bolson. A senior U.S. intelligence officer said that 1 or 2 more bombs are being dismantled or are uncovered. Now, I'm not sure if that is one of the bombs that have already been dismantled or is that 2 more additional on top of that. Also, according to NBC News, they are guarding a man. Police are guarding a man in the hospital that they are considering a possible suspect in this whole attack, which some reports are calling a terrorist attack. Obviously, that's up to your own definition. No one has since claimed this attack, but as you said earlier, 2 are dead, up to 23 reported injured. They say there's about 16 or so in the hospital being reported. They're expected to have more keep coming in to the hospital as the time goes on. Now, runners who did not finish the race, because this bomb went off about 2 hours after the elite first runners finished the race. So runners who did not yet finish the race were immediately diverted down Commonwealth Avenue and are in an emergency holding area currently with their families. The 2nd tallest building in Boston was evacuated. So there's a lot of confusion going on in Boston. There's a lot of reports still coming out. Right now it's being described basically as a mass chaos over there.
Thank you very much, Chris. Now, the first question is, what are some live updates? What's the contact situation looking over there? People who have families or connections to Boston, how are they reaching out to those people? How are they communicating with them right now?
The communication is definitely very difficult, as to be expected. This is not a very easy subject to tackle. Obviously, there's a lot of security measures that they're going over. They're trying to make sure everyone is safe, first and foremost. Cell phone service has been shut down in the Boston area. I repeat, the cell phone service has been shut down. So if you're trying to reach, I know a lot of Syracuse University people are from that area. If you're trying to reach loved ones, it's going to be difficult. If you're calling their cell phones, they most likely will not be able to answer. There's been a hotline set up by the number of 1-617-635-4500. That's 617-635-4500 if you want to reach out to, maybe loved ones that might be even running the marathon or in that area of Boston. You can contact that hotline. I cannot tell you how reliable it will be because I'm sure they will be getting a lot of traffic, but that is the hotline that they have released to call for loved ones.
And now the President of the United States is expected to talk at 6:10 p.m. Citrus TV is hoping to bring some of that live coverage here to the studio. Can you tell us very, very briefly what is going on the ground? Any updates for what people are being told to do in Boston.
Well, around the country they are reacting. As you said, the president will be speaking at 6:10. So the president has been notified of the bombings. Also, Vice President Biden has been notified. He released a statement saying that he basically watched the event happen on television. He was in a conference talking about gun control and the new law that's going on there, and he was removed from that and watched the television as the events occurred. He released a statement saying, paraphrasing, but saying that he didn't know all the details. He couldn't, say exactly on it, but that his prayers are with those in Boston. Officials are saying that this is a calculated and planned event. Obviously, multiple bombings in a very close area at a very big event is something that they are calling as calculated. And shortly afterwards, the Secret Service, as you said, closed down Pennsylvania Avenue. The White House is now closed off.
Lots of precautions going on.
Right.
Yeah,
there's a no-fly zone also over Boylston area, so there's a lot of things going on around the country to make sure everyone's safe.
Well, thank you so much, Chris Luther. We will continue to bring updates to the newsroom as we hear them, and again, our prayers go out to everyone. Thank you so much.
And in campus stories, the University Union has a new president for the 2013-2014 school term. Candidates had to go through an application and interview process and be elected by the executive board. Billy Seskovich will be the new UU president after being a member of UU since his freshman year and is the current director of performing arts. He hopes to use his previous experience to build on the current administration.
Looking forward to a year of great programming as always and catering to the most students we possibly can. And I'm hoping to see University Union become even more accessible to students, increase the way we collaborate with other organizations, and really produce the best events possible for the entire.
Seskovich hopes to expand student participation in University Union.
A Syracuse student was arrested Sunday on 3 counts of drug possession. Bronick Roberts, a freshman and resident of Brewster Hall, was charged with criminal possession of an unlawful substance in the 5th degree, criminal possession of an unlawful substance in the 7th degree, and unlawful possession of marijuana. According to a roommate, Roberts' room was searched on Friday night, but Roberts had gone home to Albany. Roberts was arrested when he returned Sunday to gather possessions from his room.
Coming up on Citrus TV News, we have a look at our weather and an update on the Whitman professor caught with a handgun. Stay tuned.
It was a little bit cloudy here in Syracuse today, but at least it was warm. Temperatures were in the 50s with some mild winds. Find out what Syracuse will bring for the rest of the week during your full weather forecast when Citrus TV News returns.
Today, about 1 in 5 Americans is living with a disability. Over 50 million people, including many of our friends and neighbors, teachers and co-workers, heroes and leaders. 20 years ago, the Americans with Disabilities Act guaranteed every person the right to live, work, and participate fully in the American experience. We've come a long way since then, and we are committed to making even more progress in the years ahead. Visit disability.gov to see how you can help.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
You realize that 49 million Americans struggle with hunger? That's 1 out of every 6 Americans. These people are around us every day. They're our friends, they're our coworkers, their kids go to school with our kids. Sometimes we're not even aware that they're struggling. This problem is closer than you think. But so is the solution.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Today was many Whitman students' first day back since Professor Chung Chen was arrested on Thursday for bringing a gun to class. Citrus TV reporter Allie Bauman is live in studio with their reaction.
After the Newtown tragedy in December, the NRA said all schools should have armed forces present. After Syracuse University professor Chung Chen was arrested for bringing a gun to class on Thursday, Whitman students had the opportunity to experience this theory firsthand.
I think it's really okay for anyone with a permit, a license permit, that has been approved by the state of New York to carry a gun, yes.
I think he should have known better than to bring a gun to class.
I think that maybe he brought it in by mistake or something.
I don't think that even if you have a permit, you should not bring it into a school environment. It's not the appropriate
Chris,
place
back
to
up.
this.
And we are coming in live right now with a stream of Barack Obama's presidential address about today's explosions at the Boston Marathon.
Our deepest thoughts and prayers to the families of the victims in the wake of this senseless loss. We don't yet have all the answers, but we do know that multiple people have been wounded, some gravely, in explosions at the Boston Marathon. I've spoken to FBI Director Mueller and Secretary of Homeland Security Napolitano, and they're mobilizing the appropriate resources to investigate and to respond. I've updated leaders of Congress in both parties, and we reaffirmed that on days like this there are no Republicans or Democrats. We are Americans united in concern for our fellow citizens. I've also spoken with Governor Patrick and Mayor Menino and made it clear that they have every single federal resource necessary to care for the victims and counsel the families. And above all, I made clear to them that all Americans. Boston police, firefighters, and first responders, as well as the National Guard, responded heroically and continue to do so as we speak. It's a reminder that so many Americans serve and sacrifice on our behalf every single day, without regard to their own safety, in dangerous and difficult circumstances. And we salute all those who assisted in responding so quickly and professionally to this tragedy. We still do not know who did this or why. And people shouldn't jump to conclusions before we have all the facts. But make no mistake, we will get to the bottom of this. And we will find out who did this. We'll find out why they did this. Any responsible individuals, any responsible groups will feel the full weight of justice. Today is a holiday in Massachusetts, Patriots' Day. It's a day that celebrates the free and fiercely independent spirit that this great American city of Boston has reflected from the earliest days of our nation. And it's a day that draws the world to Boston's streets in a spirit of friendly competition. Boston is a tough and resilient town, so are its people. I'm supremely confident that Bostonians will pull together, take care of each other, and move forward as one proud city. And as they do, the American people will be with them every single step of the way. You should anticipate that as we get more information, our teams will provide you briefings. We're still in the investigation stage at this point, but I just want to reiterate, we will find out who did this, and we will hold them accountable. Thank you very much.
President making a brief statement, about 3 minutes or so. If you were monitoring what he had to say, the president vowing that.
And that was President Barack Obama giving his address after today's events. Again, this is yet another tragedy. As he said at Newtown, this tragedy happens way too often. We're joined again with Chris Luther for some reactions. Now, Chris, as I briefly had just said, with his Newtown address, he said that in his presidency he has seen way too many of these terrible occurrences happen. He saw Aurora. He saw a number of shootings in Chicago. What do you think his message today to the American people?
Now, the president didn't have much breaking information, obviously. He basically wanted to come out and basically calm the public. It was not like he was really releasing a lot of the investigation that was going on. And these type of events basically can change a presidency. Things like this, I mean, we saw with what happened in 9/11. Now, this is obviously in a much lower, smaller scale, but terrorist attacks don't often happen in the United States on our own soil. So we'll see how the president, moving forward, this can change, his new term. He has 4 years to deal with something like this, and how he protects the American people will be on the forefront of his mind.
And again, we want to remind everyone that this is not officially an act of terrorism, that of course, that definition is arbitrary depending on who you're talking to. But we want to emphasize the idea that President Barack Obama just spoke. He did say that he wanted to provide whatever help he could using national forces to help out in the situation in Boston. What else can you tell us about that? Do we have the National Guard over there? Like, what is President Obama doing with federal forces in the city of Boston right now?
One update I do have for you is that the FBI has now come up and considered this a terrorist act. So it is now being defined in that light as a terrorist act. It is not defined whether it's domestic or international. We have no idea, as President Barack Obama said, we have no idea as to who is doing this or why. So we don't know whether this is a group inside the United States or whether this is a group overseas, how planned this was, who exactly was involved. So those are things that will definitely be uncovered as it comes out and could be uncovered very quickly. Obviously, this is going to be in everyone's mind, and the investigators are going to work very diligently. And President Obama will make sure that he finds who this is.
Right. Yet again, another thing on the table to deal with. Thank you so much, Chris, for being with us and joining us again. Now, we are back to Ali Bauman's coverage of the Whitman professor, and we will continue to bring you news about what's going on in the world and what's going on with this local story.
We'll be right back.
I think someone at my friend's school has this thing called autism. My friend's brother's son has autism. My neighbor's son has autism. My son has autism.
Autism is getting closer to home. Today, 1 in 88 children is diagnosed with autism. That's a 1,000% increase in the last 40 years. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Night owl.
Early bird.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities, our families,
united.
Even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
With the coverage of the Whitman's reaction to Professor Chung Chen being back at Syracuse after being arrested for gun possession at school.
Well, as I previously said, after the Newtown tragedy in December, the NRA said all schools should have armed forces present. After Syracuse University professor Chung Chen was arrested for bringing a gun to class on Thursday, Whitman students had the opportunity to experience this theory firsthand.
For anyone with a permit, a license permit that has been approved by the state of New York to carry a gun, yes.
I think he should have known better than to bring a gun to class.
I think that maybe he brought in by mistake or something.
I don't think that even if you have a permit, you should not bring it into a school environment. It's not the appropriate place to bring this.
It is a crime in New York State to bring a firearm to a college campus. Chen did not take the gun out in class. Another employee found it in his satchel. The handgun was licensed to Chen under a New York sportsman permit and was legally registered. But how safe do students feel now that this has happened?
Whip it out. Somebody found it in his briefcase. It's not like he pulled it out in the middle of class, so I really don't feel like my safety personally is compromised at all.
You know, you come into Whitman and you are supposed to feel safe. You're supposed to feel like you're at home. But when you hear about something like that, it definitely jerks you.
Senior Vice President of Public Affairs Kevin Quinn says there was no threat of harm to students, but the university will continue to promote a safe and secure environment.
Thank you very much, Ali. So the first question is, did Professor Chen have a reason to bring the gun to class?
After he was arrested, he did tell police that he was planning on going to the firing range after class, but still brought it into the classroom.
Okay, so what's going on with this professor now?
Well, right now he has been suspended from the university for an undefined period of time. The police did take another gun that was in his house away from him, and his permit has been taken away.
And what seems to be the atmosphere in Whitman today? Are a lot of people confused about the situation?
Students were confused, a little alarmed, but overall students didn't seem to be afraid to go to class, which I think is the important thing to keep in mind, that students still feel safe in Whitman. The professor wasn't even in a Whitman classroom, it was in Eggers, so students overall should still feel safe in their classes.
Thank you very much, Ali.
Thank you.
And moving on to our weather right now, we're going to take a look at the current forecast with CitrusTV's Rachel Wolski.
Thanks, Brian. It's currently a partly cloudy, 67 degrees. Winds are coming from the northeast at around 8 miles an hour. We have a humidity of 42%, which is making it a little bit uncomfortable today. We had a high of 69 tonight and a low of 33. If we take a look at our current temperatures, we see that Syracuse is experiencing 67-degree weather. Pretty warm for this time of year. Albany is a lot lower at 59, which is pretty lucky for us that we're this warm, but and Buffalo is a little bit higher at 71, which we may be experiencing later this week. Taking a look at our current service map, we see that we had a warm front come over our area today, which made for some more humid temperatures today for us, which makes it feel even a little bit more like summer even rather than spring. So people may have been getting used to that today. And taking a look at our current dew point, Syracuse has 41% humidity, so that's making it a little bit more humid, so people are probably going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit moist outside, so just keep a heads up for that. And taking a look at our 5-day forecast, we see that tomorrow it's going to be a little bit rainy. Wednesday we're going to see a little bit of sun, but the rest of the week is going to look pretty gloomy. Thursday is going to be cloudy. Friday and Saturday are going to be raining, but temperatures are kind of going to be all over the place.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Looking forward to some good weather. And when we come back, we continue to tell you what's going on in Boston with some updates. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. Well, teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
My dad's one of the producers. Bring this week. Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan,
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
downtown,
Night owl,
Early bird.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live
our families,
united.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Welcome back to News at 6. I'm Andrew Miller. We'll get you updates on the Boston Marathon coming up later, but right now we're going to go into sports. Coming into Saturday's matinee matchup with Rutgers, they were coming off a 3-game winning streak, and add to the fact that it was senior day and Rutgers had only won 2 games this year, and it should be a walk in the park. Rutgers apparently didn't get the memo. They came out playing like the 8-seed Syracuse boasts, but let's see how it played out on the Hill. The Orange were wearing new uniform combinations during the game, and start off the game, Anthony Terranova lit it up with 2 quick goals for Rutgers right out of the gate, put them up 2-0, and then he gets the trash here, 9-5 at this point, 10-5 entering the fourth quarter, but Luke Cometti, shouldered the burden for the Oranges. They climbed all the way back off the pass from J.J. Marasco. Now it's 11-all, last minute. Brian McGill scoops up the ball, runs the entire length of the field. He's going to find Derek Maltz to score the game-winning goal. 12-11, only 10 seconds left when that goal was scored. They will stifle the face-off, go on to win. Luke Cometti was awarded the Big East Player of the Week for his performance on the turf. Here's what he had to say about it.
The guys on the field really make it easier, and it's a great award. I appreciate it, and it's really hats off to my teammates. They really make my job easy. Things have been going well. Just for me this week. Who knows what'll be next week.
Next game for Cometti and his teammates is Tuesday at home against Hobart. While the men's team has grabbed headlines of late, the women's team has quietly rebounded from a slow start. Gary Gate picks up 6 of their last 7. The defeat has been a heartbreaking loss to the powerhouse Northwestern. Sunday afternoon, Cuse's Big East rival, Louisville Cardinals, came to town trying to snap the Orange's perfect record in conference play. Let's get to the highlights as SU came out firing. Cuse comes in with a 9-2 record with Cincinnati and a 6-6 record for Cincinnati. Alyssa Murray passes to Michelle Tomolo on the fast break, 1-0 Orange right out of the gates. Now 8 minutes in, a brilliant passing play. Bridget Daly scores 3-0 Orange. They begin to pull away quickly. Megan Bell for Cincinnati would get on the stat sheet, make it 14-3 Cuse. She had a hat trick in the game. And Christina Ferguson adds one late to the blowout, 18-4. They would go on to win 21-6 and a perfect 5-0 in Big East play. The tournament, which claims to be a tradition like no other, added to its storied history in more ways than one this weekend. Citrus TV's Chris Wilner has more.
Well, Andrew, the 2013 version of the Masters proved to once again have its share of drama and history-making moments. Coming into the weekend, Tiger Woods had already captured 3 tour wins and regained his perch atop the world golf rankings, but that momentum was all washed away after the third round of play. Woods was assessed a 2-shot penalty for an improper drop on the 15th hole after landing his shot in the water. Woods would go on to end the final round at 5 under par and finished in 4th place, but the most inspiring story of the tournament was 14-year-old Tian Lang Guan, who became the youngest in Masters history to make the weekend cut. The amateur champion would go on to finish 9 over par, but the true magic of the Masters lied during the final round of play. Adam Scott would come into the final round to the 18th hole and would birdie on this sweet putt, putting him 9 over par and into the lead. But Angel Cabrera said, you know what, anything you can do, I can do better. His chip shot on his shot number 2 would go all the way to the cup and nearly go in, setting himself up for a birdie as well to tie Adam Scott, and they would go to the playoff. On the first playoff hole, they would tie. Second playoff hole, hole number 10, Angel Cabrera for the birdie would miss it, setting up Adam Scott, the Australian, making history. The first time an Australian would get the birdie there and win the Masters in thrilling fashion. Let's hear what the green jacket winner had to say after winning the Masters.
The green jacket is something that you dream of and never sure if it can become reality, but anything is possible and you should never give up on what you dream of.
Last year's champion Bubba Watson did not fare too well. He finished 50th in a tie, so we'll have to see if he can come back next year. Back to you guys.
That's all the sports we have for Monday. Back to news. Hannah?
Thank you so much, Chris. And here we are. When we come back from the break, we will give you a final update from Boston.
My dad's one of the producers here.
During this week.
Turning a 20-foot wall into a canvas takes vision. So will getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
And live from the Citrus TV studios, a few things we want to pass on to you at home. The Boston Globe is reporting that over 100 people are injured, and the American Red Cross is saying the only thing right now to do that you can help is to connect with loved ones. I'm Hannah McDonald.
And I'm Brian Chung. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to tune in for live updates at Citrus TV News.